Here's one, here's a big one. Ah, look at this guy. What a granddaddy. Yeehaw.
I'm here in Laguna Beach with Breezy collecting earthworms on the street in the rain.
Yeah, best time to get them.
You can explain to us why we're collecting earthworms, why they're out in the rain, and where we're going to put them.
It's cat.
Video.
A mouthful of chicken. Green tea in Laguna Beach. Today's a great day to collect worms. Rain's let up and there's going to be a bunch of worms out in the street because what happens is they're drowning in water and they need air. So they come up out of the ground, and if they don't have leaves or mulch, coarse material to hide under, which is nature's way, then they have nowhere to hide, and the rain kind of washes them away. What we can do is collect them and put them somewhere where they have cover. We can feed them, and we can nurture our garden that way. Let's just see if we can find some of these poor worms. Here's one. Let's get him out of here before he washes away. Ah, I've got one. Get some more. Let's get some more. Working so hard for these little worms, these precious little worms. Oh, here's one. Ah, nice big one. Oh man, this is gonna help the garden. Get up here. If you drink coffee, man, some used coffee grounds, they love to eat used coffee grounds. It's like pre-digested food for them. These nice big juicy ones, not those little red worms that most people buy when they start a worm thing. You can use these things from the street, they're free. But they will crawl out of your thing if you don't give them enough food to eat. That's why I was mentioning used coffee grounds, but any kind of produce, you just don't want to use like too many alliums or too much citrus because that'll burn them. Let's see, we got a small handful. Oh, here's one. So what happens is, people they rake up all their leaves, throw all their leaves away. Get over here. Throw all their leaves away. And then the worms have nowhere to hide when it gets too wet. They want to come up for air. And so they end up out the street. They wash away if the birds don't eat them or, they don't get stepped on or driven over. Then they dry out in the sun and you lose your worms. It's a good thing they're so prolific though. They do multiply if you give them something to eat. They can probably do this all day, I've seen sometimes where there's even many more, but it's been raining all night long, so there's some of them downstream, Maybe they get caught in a puddle and that's it. They can't get out. At least a handful. Where? Oh, yeah. Okay. So yeah, you just kind of push them together and then you get under them. Come on. Touch them. It's cool, man. I look forward to these kinds of times. Rain is a good time to do gardening. People don't really like to work in the rain, but it's nice clean air. It's a good time to work the soil. It's so easy. It might get muddy, but it also gets pliable. And then you get all these sprouts that come up. Sprouts are like seedling sprouts that come up after rain. They're like at the peak of their nutritional value per volume. Those first 2 leaves are the best after the rain. All these weeds start growing and they're edible. I mean, like mustard sprouts. Gosh, eat as many as you can and clean out an area. A lot of people, they go and get all the weeds out. Well, that was their food, and then they go plant the vegetables they want, and something eats them, and they end up with nothing. So, look at the weeds first that are in your soil and eat those first before you, destroy your food source right there. Yeah, these guys are just coming up for air. They like moisture, but they like air too. Oh, here's one. Once they get in your soil, they can help aerate it. Well, they come out of the soil because it gets soaking wet. They need air. They can't live in water. They need air. They need moisture. Oh, you almost stepped on one. You did step on it. Oh, it's probably okay. Yeah. 3 of them right here. Getting a pretty good handful. Yeah, you can cut them in half and they make 2. That's what everybody says. I don't know. I've never really tried it. But if it dies, then the other worms will eat them, and that's okay. They need food. Everything that lives kills, basically. Oh man, I was on pile. We hit the jackpot. Look, I see like 6 right here. Come on. You don't have to ruin your fingernails. I'll get these buggers. Whoa. That's probably because these people have really good soil, but no leaves covering it. And so the worms have nowhere to hide. They like to hide under the leaves, under the mulch layer. Right on top of the soil, under the mulch layer. The dressing, you're supposed to cover the skin of the earth. Just like you cover your skin. You gotta cover, because most of the life on the planet is in those first couple inches of soil. Most of the diversity, it might be microscopic, but that's what breaks down the soil for the plants. You want to keep it covered and moist moisture and air, and these worms are a critical part of, keeping it aerated and nutrient dense. And as they crawl in and out, the nutrients go in and out with them. They're castings, they call it. They don't call it poop or whatever. They call it castings. That's the worm fertilizer. People buy bags full of castings and they throw them around their trees and bushes, and then they all wash it away because there's no mulch. You gotta have that mulch or that dressing on top. And then then the worms will come and they'll make castings. You don't have to buy them. Just provide a habitat for the worms. And then you get free castings. Wow, that's a pretty good handful. Oh, we can't quit now though. Look at all these guys. We did hit the mother load here. Come on, buddy, we're trying to save your life. This is gonna provide a good meal. Oh, but we don't have anybody to eat it. A good meal if you had like a robin in your garden, a bird, or maybe a chicken. Oh, chickens love these things. Let's go. There we go. Get this handful of worms. I don't know. We're still finding so many. Could do this all day long. Look at them all.
Wow.
Okay, let's go put these in your vegetable bed. We're gonna have to add, food for these worms in the vegetable bed. Like bury some of your kitchen waste. Next time you have leftovers, something like that, just dig a hole in the corner somewhere in here, and then this little vegetable bed, and this is more than enough worms for here. This will be so abundant in here. It's still kind of dry in here. See, the rain isn't penetrating as quickly as you think it might. Big old fat grub in there. We'll let birds eat that one maybe. Be cool. Instead of having a big worm box to have a vermiculture project, you could just do a worm pit in your soil. You don't have to have any big plastic containers. Just dig a hole in your garden somewhere. Keep it moist. Keep it covered so the coons and animals don't dig in there and get them all out. And make sure they have something to eat. Much as it's been raining, you think the ground was soaked, but this organic matter really absorbs the moisture, and it's dry just an inch down. So we should add some moisture to this bed. And it would be great if we could add it in the form of kitchen waste as well, so they have something to eat. Do you have any leftover kitchen waste? Any trimmings instead of throwing it down the garbage disposal? But moisture is the main thing. They can actually find food to eat in good garden soil. Even something like this, they can start working. It'll start rotting and they'll start eating it. Remember, no aliens, no citrus, moisture and air, water and air. That's what they need. Like you could put like just a bucket sitting here, or like some chicken wire, something animals can't dig through too easily, because they will. It's possible that, like the skunks, I think they can hear the worms, because they do. They go digging for grubs and they get them out of your garden. Skunks can be good for your garden sometimes because they eat the grubs. Get some food scraps when we can. Worms will be okay for a minute, but don't put any meat in there. Don't put any like onions, a bunch of onions in there, or a bunch of citrus pills in there. But everything else, like all your other fruits and veggies. Bread, interesting thing about bread, we should mention. Bread attracts a creature that eats worms. So if you put bread in, you get what's called planetarians, they're called. Planetarians, they eat worms. So I wouldn't use too much bread. Coffee grounds are the best. Use coffee grounds. Sometimes you can go to if you get coffee somewhere, if you don't make your own, you can ask them to save you a bunch. You can get a big bag of used coffee grounds. That's ideal. They eat a lot and they eat fast, and they can eat their own body weight like every 2 days. And they proliferate at a fast rate if you feed them enough. I've seen people's vermiculture boxes just overflowing with worms. Just so many worms. Ours is pretty simple, pretty minimal, but it's a start.
Form of vermicomposting just right in the garden
Yeah,
bed.
it's a worm pit. Instead of a worm box or a worm bucket, like a lot of people get, they get a big bin, they put holes in it for drainage, and they get a bedding, and they go through this whole process. That's fine, that's great. Then you have more control of the worms if they're going to stay in that container. In this case, they'll come in from all around if there's a pile of food for them, and then they'll proliferate, and you don't have to have a big plastic thing somewhere. Yeah, it's not hard to just do a worm pit. It's the easiest way to do it. As long as you keep it covered though, like I was saying, because I think the skunks will dig in there and eat them all up. Or, if you had a chicken around, they found that spot, they could just devastate all those worms. So you want to keep them kind of covered. Well, it's playing in the dirt. Green Gene, the dirt machine, but really it's not dirt, it's soil.
Thank you for watching this episode of Adventures with Gene. I hope all of you go out there and grab some worms on the next rainy day, throw them in your garden, keep them safe, keep them fed, keep them happy, keep them protected, and they will serve you too. Now make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, your neighbors, subscribe. hit that notification button to stay tuned for our next videos. We have a lot of fun, interesting content coming up. We're going to have guest speakers. The next video is going to feature a mushroom forager from here in Orange County, and we are so happy to enjoy nature with you. Take care.